We are so glad that you've chosen to join us today by listening to this message. We hope it blesses you and encourages you. We also pray that you understand that this is not a replacement of the local church. We hope that you find yourself in a local body of believers to be encouraged the way God has planned to knit us together in the local church. We hope you enjoy the next 30 minutes. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Quick recap. There was an awesome crawfish boil. We hit a lot of piñatas. 19 people were baptized. 2021 in a nutshell, right? I think there are a lot of piñatas. We saw that. It's kind of a thing at our church. We've tried to have one at every event. But guys, why do we do what we do? So that people will meet Jesus and then be able to walk alongside other people that love Jesus in a lifelong commitment that is fruitful and produces flourishing in and around their own lives and in and around their community. That's why we do what we do, period, full stop, nothing else. So seeing things like 19 people went public in their faith for baptism and seeing things like tons of pictures of serving our community, that's it. Mission accomplished, that's the goal. So thank you guys for being a part of that. I'm sure you saw you in there, you were in there. And so 2021 is a story of you. It's a story of us. It's a story of God using you, using us, working in us. Love year recaps. I don't know if y'all like slideshows like I like slideshows, but I think that one's great, and I'm a big fan. So we have 4 guiding principles, right? Live, love, serve, share. If you're new here, you may not know that. It's on the banner. If you forget, it's on a lot of t-shirts around. Live, love, serve, share. Live relationally, talking about how we work with one another. Love intentionally. It's loving God intentionally. Serving practically. We're out in our community serving as often as possible, fulfilling practical needs. And then share passionately. We want to share our faith. We want to share our stories. So we're built on those 4 guiding principles. We're going to talk about some of those here today, and we're going to work through some things. But I'm also, like I said, going to have some people share the stage with me. Live relationally. It's about getting families and people connected to a group of people that are equally struggling but trying. Right? That's what we're a church of. That's what we're people of. The rest of the churches are that also or lying. Right? So this is a common denominator for all of us. We're all trying. It's hard. So living relationally matters a lot because it's a little bit easier when you're doing it with other people. It talks extensively in the Bible about, man, what if somebody falls down in a field and they're alone? Who's there to pick them up? Or what if somebody's sleeping alone in the cold by themselves? Who's there to keep them warm? There needs to be a partnership. That's what we're trying to create here. So I'm going to ask the Cathys to come, Derek and Heather to come up and share a little bit about how God has used Foundation Church and some relational things, we've got a staircase over here, to help build their family and their faith in their lives over this past year. So please welcome them and be generous.
Hi, I'm Heather. That's Derek.
Hi.
So God has always been a part of our life. We grew up going to church as kids and teenagers, and then we were grown-ups one day. And so we kind of got away from going to church, and once we had kids, we always, we're like, okay, we'll get back to church one day, we'll get back, but we always had an excuse. The kids are too small, Landon's ADHD, we're out of town, and then one day Landon started asking us questions about God and Jesus, and that he wanted to go to church, in which we replied, okay, but we never really put any thought into it. And that same week he asked about church, I had 2 different people ask me to go to church. So I figured God was like, hey, you need to go back to church, stop being a heathen. And so Derek was like, yeah, I've been telling you that. So we did try one church. It was not a good fit for us, but we didn't lose hope, and we kept our search going. And then the next week happened to be field day for Landon, which we finally got to go on campus, so we were excited. And that is where we met his best friend, Creek, and his mom and dad, Peter and Courtney, who were very friendly, and invited us to church. I was super nervous walking up. And the moment that we walked through the doors, everybody was friendly, and it felt like that was the place that we were supposed to be. Our kids are excited about going to church every Sunday. learning about God and everything that he's done for us. They even choose to come to church over grandma's house, so that's awesome. Both the kids every morning pray on the way to, school with Derek about, guide us through the day, help us make good choices, thank you for what we have and what we don't have. Landon prays at school when he's having a bad day and he can't control himself. I know for me, it's taught Derek and I to be better parents. We've made new friends, reconnected with old friends, and so Foundation Church, it feels like where we're supposed to be. We're at home. We know everybody loves and cares for our kids, so that's what it's done for us.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. I wanted to give one example of many stories that are similar to that. That is on repeat in our church. It's pretty great. And we're really excited about that. So, transition into small groups. You need to be in one. They're in our small group. It's amazing. We've got to grow and learn and love with the Cathys, and it's been amazing. There's many others that have done the same. Guys, if you're not in a small group, you need to go to the back table when we're done and put your name on there. Or there's a QR code for the small groups, and we'll have somebody back at the table that can help you. We need to get you connected. Why? Because it is hard, and it's good to have a team, people in your corner. It's good to have a group. It's like, these are my people. So we have this big group. Then we have a smaller group called your small group, called your FC group, whatever you want to call it, 10 to 12 adults. Most of them have kids. It gets kind of wild. But I cannot overstate that. You will never feel really connected to Foundation Church if you don't attend a small group. You just won't, because we do not put all of our eggs in this basket. We put more eggs in that basket. We find that to be the most important for walking through this life faithfully and staying on point with your Christian spiritual goals or learning more about God in relational walking through life. So 100%, that's where you need to be if you're going to get connected. We have information on the back table after this. We want you to be able to connect in a meaningful way with other believers to walk through this life. Additionally to that, we have something even smaller. Call them pods. 3 to 4 adults. Once a month, you get to connect with somebody that's just going to kind of relationally live with you, talk to you. I know some of the guys' groups are like, let's go shooting something. And they're like, yeah, so that's been a pod before. Let's go shoot some things, and it's been great. And then we talk about life. We talk about Jesus, and we talk about our kids and our spouses. And I know some of the ladies are like, well, we're going to have dinner over here. Let's just go have dinner because queso makes us love Jesus more. And so we do that, and it helps. And then we talk about life and being a parent and being a spouse. Like, this is a factual statement. If anybody's questioning that, you might not find it in the Bible, but I assure you it's true. It's 100% true. Like, I know for a fact for me as well. So there's a list back there. You just sign your name up, and you'll get contacted. We have some leaders that are going to be leading pods. They're once a month. We know you're super busy, and we know this is very important. So we try to, how do we live with that tension? You have no time, and you really need this. All right, once a month. That's how we're going to marry that. The small groups, the small groups where it's families, it's not gender specific. Those are once a week. These are things you need. We know you're busy. We're trying to meet you where you're at. There's different times. There's different locations for your small groups. Your pods will be gender specific because we have a goal of being faithful. We do. Nobody's like, you know what? I hope I just kind of meander through life, and at the end of my days, I'll be like, did it matter? It's no one's goal. It's no one's goal. So we join together with people with like-minded ideas and goals, and we try to walk together, and this is how we want to do that. I assure you it's worth your time. I would also say, if you've been in a small group and you want to stay in that small group, you've been in a pod, you want to stay in that pod, awesome. It's really, really good to create longevity and have lifelong friends and like have that. If you've been in a pod, you've been in a small group, and you're like, I would like to branch out and meet more people and try something else, also awesome. That's fine too. No problem. There's no like, oh, once in my pod, blood in, blood out. That's not a thing. Like, right, well, you're good. We want you to know if you want to branch out and meet more people, awesome. That's a great way to do it, through a different small group and a different pod. If you want to like, man, these are my people, I just want to grow deeper with them, awesome. That's really good. We encourage you to do that too. So stay where you're at, move on, Both are good options because they both have great benefits to your life. So we want you to know that. Something else we want to focus on today just a little bit is we track certain things that matter to us at Foundation Church. There's things that matter to us. Number one that matters to us, salvations and baptisms. Number one, period. People giving their life to Jesus, committing themselves to him in public profession through baptism. Number two, probably think is how are we serving? Physically, financially, how are we serving? This is very, very important to us. We gave to foreign missions, local missions, church planting, community outreach, community partnerships, the schools. That's over $44,000 last year. Right? Praise God. Praise God. That's why we've kind of been on repeat for something. I mean, that's online people, that's in-house people. We're giving to a common goal. We have this whole theme going about small church, big God, right? Because I'm going to preach on it here in a second. I don't want to get started. But God can accomplish much through people that are dedicated to him. But how crazy is that? Our group of people, we gave over $44,000 to local and foreign missions and like building our community. That's fantastic. We want that to grow. We want that to go. So I'm going to call Lori up. She's going to give you a little budget update. We don't talk money often here or ever here, so we're going to try to be better about that because people give money, so they should hear about it. So we think that's important. We just don't want it to ever think that that's what we're after. But Lori has a cool little budget update for us real fast.
Well, good morning. I am so excited to be able to be on the Finance Committee, and I serve on the committee with two of our elders, Bill Hopkins and Alan Hutchison, and then, of course, Peter is always there with us, too. And our goal is to really be good stewards of what God has provided and what you provide to the church, and to hold each other accountable for what God has given us. So today, the Finance Committee wants to share our budget with you, and Jason's going to put a slide up for us. So we are on a quarterly budget, and this is our monthly budget. This is the monthly budget that we have and where the money that you give goes. So $9,700 for personnel, $3,000 for missions, for outreach, and for community, $875 for worship. That includes your coffee, and $1,200 for ministry, discipleship, and fellowship, and then $4,412 for administration, which is being here at the Y, mail, etc., things like that. So tithing and giving is so important, right? And it's one of the topics, as Peter mentioned, that we don't talk about very often here at church. But in reality, it is so important because this is how we have 19 people get baptized, and we're able to give $44,000 back to our community. It allows us to support our missions. It allows us to have our pastoral staff who pours into us on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, and how they teach us and how they encourage us to help others learn and grow in their relationship with Christ. I think for me, personally, on a personal note, Paul and I, we've been married for 43 years.
Hey, all right.
And that's a long time, right? We got married very young. I think we were 10 when we got married. And we had decided back then, we heard about, we'd always been tithing individually, but as a couple, we didn't have any money when we first got married. We were both going to school, we were working, and so we really prayed about it and reached out and really researched what should we be giving. Should we be giving 10% of our income? And we decided, yes, we should. And we also questioned, is tithing and giving, does that include of our time, or does that just include money? So, and God's pretty specific on those things. He wants us to serve him, and he wants us to provide the first of our fruits that we get from working. And so we started giving 10%, and I will tell you that throughout our lives, God has always provided for us. He has given us provisions. He has given us our family. He has provided in times that we thought would never come about. And it's been we have really experienced God's richest blessings. We are by no means wealthy, but we are rich in God's blessings, for sure. And just recently, a couple of years ago, I went through a transition where I was working for a financial institution, And then I wasn't working for the financial institution. And we were on unemployment. Our unemployment checks, Paul was not working because we have a child who is disabled. And so my unemployment checks were about, I don't know, just a fraction of what my unemployment was. And we hadn't been here in Texas very long, so it wasn't very long before that was going to run out. God provided for us in ways we could never imagine. We had unexpected, unusually good tax refunds. We had gifts that were coming in the mail. We had refunds that we weren't expecting. It was just amazing how God provided for us during that time. And then he allowed us to open up our own business. And one of the biggest amazing things that happened is that my unemployment ran out, and we were opening our business, which is a farmer's insurance, and we opened our doors. On the day we opened our doors, farmers gave us money. They gave us our first paycheck, and we were so amazed. I mean, how could you even plan that, right? You can't make that up. God just provided for us, and so we really want to encourage you to experience God's richest blessings as well. We are so encouraged when we hear things like $44,000 to missions and 19 people baptized, and as a group, we're all a part of that. So just want to say thank you. Thank you for your giving and for your stewardship in making sure that these things happen. Thanks.
Thank you, Lori. Like I said, we count certain things, and how much money we can give away is one of them. We look at our overall income from giving in the church, and we look at what we gave away. We gave away about 20%. It's awesome. Like, we're super proud of that, The Bible talks a lot about 10% giving and this or that, and then there's New Testament, is there still tithing? That can be debated. Some people say absolutely yes. Some people say no, just be cheerful. And what? That's neither here nor there. We're not here to, this is the number you give. But what we want you to know is your church is leading by example. And when you give here, we're giving. We want you to know that, right? It's called a nonprofit for a reason, right? Like, we are giving away as much as we can, correctly, wisely, not just like, oh, you need some? No, it's like, well, how's this going to be used? What is the purpose? How are we going to grow the kingdom this way? And so we want you to know to give here is to give there, and that we want to be leading by example. So we're pretty proud of the 20% number of what came in, went out. The year before, it was 25% during the big COVID crunch, and everything went away, and that was because we didn't have rent here for a while because we were online. But we want you to know your church's finances. If you have any questions, we will print you out a detailed budget. We're going to have those available in a few weeks on a back table. You can pick one up. You can talk to anybody on the finance team. Everything's transparent. You give, you want to know how we use it, 100%. We'll let you know every detail. So we want you to know that nothing's hidden. There's nothing for us to hide in that, because we have an awesome finance team that does a really great job. One of the things we're going to grow this year with our budget. So before, about a year and a half ago, we were still being funded by other people. That funding ran out this past June, and we were projected to bring in-house about $14,000. You guys have been incredibly generous over this past year. We're now projecting that to be about $20,000. So the funding we lost, we have more than made up for and doubled on income in-house. So we were anticipating $20,000. So our budget grew a lot with things we're going to give away. Like, we're really excited for that. One of them, you guys know, we have a bottomless goodie basket at Walnut Springs Elementary School. I know we have a teacher here that goes to Walnut Springs, and she's like, yeah, it's there. We're about to expand that to another school. So we're excited to expand that ministry. We're going to be growing other opportunities. We have 2 foreign missionaries we're providing for. We have Rescue One More that we're about to get really involved in, and we're about to do that Uganda mission trip there, and the money's going to go to that. So as the budget has grown, the ministry grows. That's what I want you to know. That's what's exciting about finances and why we track it, because I think you can directly track growth spiritually, individually for people that give, and growth spiritually for the church as people come in because of how we've given. So it matters. You give here, it matters. It matters a lot. Another one of our big emphasis is serving. Serve Saturday. We do a lot of Serve Saturday. We are coming up on January 22nd. We're going to be doing the landscaping up here. You might be saying, what landscaping? Exactly. No more to be said. But the January 22nd, that's what we'll be doing. It's going to be great. We've kind of been given like, hey, just let us know what you're going to do. But yeah, fire away. Awesome. So we're going to be doing that. That's going to be our next Serve Saturday. We're really excited for that. We're also on February 26th going to be serving at the big DSYSA soccer grand opening of the season deal, which we've done before. And I'm going to ask Arvin and Amanda to come up and speak to us for a second about how they got connected to our church, because it may have something to do with serving at DSYSA soccer. It may not. I don't want to be a spoiler or anything, but welcome them to the stage, please. Scoot this way to get you in camera. There we go. All right.
Well, there was a Serve Saturday where we had this improbable intersection with Foundation Church. And I just want to start off by saying we don't want to make this about the church we left, but we want to make it about the church that we came to. And I'll just say this, we were at this church for 4 years, and 7 years. She was there 3 years before me. I was a heathen for a little while. But just sitting in the church, towards the end of the sermon, I had this sort of flood of emotion, of this sort of, not a lightning bolt, but just this conviction that it was time to change. It was time to move somewhere else, somewhere, a church that needed us as much as we needed them, this force multiplying church. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know if it even existed. But I knew that this search had to begin. And as we were walking back to the truck, I just blurted out to my family, I said, we're never coming back. We're starting over. And I'm going to be starting this search immediately. And my wife was like, shush, do not have this conversation in front of the kids. Let's talk about this later. This is dumb. And I was like, yeah, you're right. We won't have this conversation in front of the kids. And I couldn't stop. I just had to keep talking about it. But that was the last Sunday we were there. I was anticipating having to get into the pickup truck and go church to church. I know a lot of you have felt this, where you were like, oh gosh, we're gonna have to drive. We're gonna have to like sample every Sunday. We're gonna have to try a new ice cream sample, right? And I wasn't looking forward to that, and my family was not looking forward to that either. My wife was just like, you know what, let us stay back at the old church because it's a lot more comfortable for the kids. They're just, this is where they this is what they know, right? And I was like, you guys can do that, but I'm gonna start this thing. So we haven't even started the search. This is still within that week. So that Saturday, Maya has her final soccer game at the field right over here. And there was a church there having Serve Saturday. And we get out of the truck, we start walking towards the soccer fields, right? And we see the jumpy house, right? And we see, am I going too long?
Yes.
Okay. And we see, and there's a booth, people are like serving food, and I see it's a church, right? Foundation Church. And I'm like, oh, I'm looking up and going, yep, you are doing something, right? You're doing something. And so I see, and I look for the most friendly face I could find, and I found the friendliest face in Dripping Springs, and that's Alan Hutchinson's face. I don't know if he's here. He's not. But I just made a beeline to him, and I was like, is this our church? And he was like, this is your church. I was like, all right, I'll see you tomorrow. And I went, my wife was watching Maya already playing, and I went up to my wife and I said, I found a church, it's over. We got it. And she was like, no, you shut up. No, you didn't. And we're leaving the soccer game, and Maya starts playing with your kids, and my wife starts a conversation with Mike Vasquez, right? And she has such a great time with Mike, and she's like, this is authentic people. These are fun people. And we're going back to the truck. She's like, all right, what time does the service start? I'm like, starts at 10. That's amazing, 10. She's like, all right. And so Go ahead. We showed up.
No, go ahead.
And we showed up, and we're still here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's great. Just to add to that, like he said, I was definitely committed to my other church. I was not leaving 7 years. This church saved me in 2014, helped me reclaim my faith. And so I was not on board. We were not on the same page at all that week. So like he said, when I met Mike Vasquez, if y'all have met him, how can you not just like gravitate toward him, like his energy, and he's fun. And I was like, wow. So his whole thing was we need to find dripping people, local people. So when I came here and I was still like, I'm going to have an open heart. I've been praying about it all week. I'm committed to where we're at. I'm not moving. Let's see what this church can do. And I come in and I meet Peter, and Mike, introduces us to a whole bunch of people. And I was like blown away by this church. And I was like, I love it. It's small and it's dripping people. It's real, and everyone's talking to us, and it's not like, you can go into church and you leave and you still never met anybody. Anyways, I will say from that day forward, we walked out, and instead of saying, we're going back to my other church, I was like, this is our church home. This is it. We are here, and our kids were happy. Maya was ecstatic. Everyone loved Winston. Julia was like, this is cool. So anyways, I just want y'all to know, amazing church. I'm so glad that we found you guys, and thank y'all for welcoming us.
And let me just say one last thing. We all have an improbable intersection with this church, and I look out and I'm pretty sure there's a matrix of improbable intersections with this church, and all of that, these intersections, they don't happen without Serve Saturday. Serve Saturday is the opportunity to intersect. And God reached out to us. God said, you don't have a search for a church. You're not searching anymore. I'm bringing the church to you. And that's what happened. And we just appreciate you all for that. Thank you.
Man, thank you guys so much. Thank you. Praise God. Before we planted, we were at Fellowship Church of Plum Creek and Kyle, our sending church, and I talked about our goal as a church is going to be a lot less the Field of Dreams. If you build it, they will come, because society doesn't work that way. It's going to be a lot more like Liam Neeson in Taken. Say, I will find you. So that's how we've structured with Serve Saturdays and stuff. Like, we're not waiting for people to come to us. We're going to them. So thank you for sharing that, Arvin. That's how the church should be. It's not find us on the corner when you need us. It's like we're already there. We're your soccer coach for your kids, or we're already there. We're your realtor, or we're your whoever, right? And so we're after the hearts and souls of Dripping Springs. I want to share a quick passage and talk to you about it just a little bit, because I think small church, big God, and I think about Gideon in the Old Testament. If you're not familiar with Gideon in the Old Testament, that's fine. I'll try to explain it real fast. So Gideon is an Israelite. They're completely oppressed by the Midianites. The Midianites have destroyed them. They're this tiny servitude little group. And Gideon is hiding in a wine press, beating out wheat so he can make some bread for his family to not starve. And an angel of the Lord shows up and says, whoa, mighty warrior, I'm here to talk to you about God. He's like, mighty warrior? It's like, I'm young, my family's small, our nation is destroyed. I have no idea what you see in me right now. Mighty warrior, I'm hiding. Like, I can't do anything about the circumstance I find myself in. And I would say this, it's not about the ability of the person, it's about the ability of God. A lot of us sell ourselves short. I couldn't do that. God can. It's not about you, because you're right. You can't. God can. He was not a mighty warrior. He was a hiding, scared dude. But things changed. God then told him, hey, your family's worshiping idols. I need you to cut down the Asherah pole, chop it up into bits, and then you're going to slaughter some cows and sacrifice them to the God, and you're going to destroy the statue of Baal that's out in front of your dad's house. And so Gideon said, awesome, I'm in. I'm a mighty warrior. I'll wait till it's dark so nobody knows. Kid you not, I am not making this. This is the story. This is the story. It legitimately says, right here, it says, so Gideon took 10 men of his servants and did as the Lord had told him. But because he was too afraid of his family and the men of the town to do it by day, he did it at night. So what does that tell me when I think about us? It's not about the size of one's faith. It's about obedience. He's still scared. He has met God face to face. He still didn't feel like a mighty warrior. He's like, but I'll do it because I know you're real. I'm just going to do it hiding and being scared. And then his story progresses and people see God's hand is on Gideon. Man, we have to defeat the Midianites. How is God going to do this? And he says, Gideon, raise up an army. And Gideon's like, no way, I'm not raising up an army. And he starts testing God, and God comes through every single time. So Gideon raises an army of 32,000 men to go fight Midian. And what does God tell Gideon? He says, that's too many for me to get credit. If anyone's scared, send them home. So he goes, hey, is anybody here scared? You could go home. 22,000 people left. 32,000 man army, which was already too small for the battle, is now 10,000. And God says, thank you for being obedient, Gideon. It's still too many. I want you to make them go get water at this brook, and then I'm going to test them. And then he said, well, all the men that drank this way, those are the ones you get to keep. How many was it? 300. 32,000 to 10,000 to 300. He said, okay, now we can get some stuff done where people know it's God that did it and not man that did it. Guys, it is not about the size of the church. It's about the power of God. What can't we do at Foundation Church? Which place in the globe can we not reach? Which person cannot meet Jesus? There is no no's for the church that has a big God. We don't ever say, no, we can't. No, God can't. Because it's not us, it's him. So we might be a small church, but we have a big God. So what is impossible? Nothing. You know why I love a New Year's sermon when I get to look out? Because I look out at people that matter so much to me that last year when I did this, I didn't even know them. I didn't know so many people that I'm looking at that I love right now that are a huge part of what we do. I did not know them last year when I said the exact same words. I said, look around you. We didn't know these people last year, and now look how involved and how intricate and how big a deal. So why am I excited about 2022? Because in 2023, I'm going to know 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 families. I'm going to look out and say, I love you guys, and my family loves you guys, and I've had you at my house, and I didn't know you when I said that last year. I know it's going to happen because I know God has a plan for Dripping Springs, and I know God has a plan for Foundation Church. And as long as we say, don't look at the size of my faith, don't look at the size of my church, it doesn't matter because it's the size of my God and it's the power he has, anything can be accomplished. So let's go, let's hit our budget, let's reach our goals, let's serve our community, let's baptize everyone, let's tell people about Jesus because the size of our God can take 300 men and defeat an entire country. Because it wasn't about the size of the troops. It's about the power of God. That's my message today. I love, sometimes I get into a desperate spot. I'm like, there's no hope for this person. You ever been there? Family? Like, I know I'm praying for this person, but it's been like a real long time, and I'm pretty sure God does not like them. I know I don't, and at this point, I'm sure he doesn't either. Yeah. And the Bible literally says, is the Lord's arm too short that there's someone he couldn't save? The New Testament said, if God's for us, who can be against us? Guys, hold on to these things. The Lord's arm is not too short. There is not someone he can't save. We're standing here as proof of it, right? Because I know who I was. I know who a lot of you were. We weren't ready. He got us. There's nothing God can't do and he won't do in and through his church because we are plan A and there's no plan B. He sent his son to die, it says, for the church. He established his leadership group, his disciples, to establish the New Testament church. He gave them the authority, the keys to the kingdom. He said, this is my plan. And because we are God's plan to save the world, there's nothing he won't do in us and for us and through us and to us. So if you're in, buckle up, let's go. Let's hit the budget. Let's see people saved. Let's give of our time. Let's give of our treasures. Let's be all in for the Lord. Even when the lights are off and I'm at home by myself, let's still be all in for Jesus because it still matters the same because he's still God and he still sees us. And everything matters. Right? 2022, let's go. That's my message for you. Don't get me wrong in saying it's more cool to have a small church. I'm just saying it doesn't matter. God matters. God's plan, God's purpose, God's will, that matters. The gates of hell will not prevail against his church. There's nothing he can't do. Pray with me.